Hello, dear listener, welcome. Before our story begins tonight, I want you to let yourself feel completely safe, completely comfortable. Take a long, slow breath in through your nose. Hold it gently for a moment, and then let it out, as if the air itself is sighing with relief. Again, breathe in softly, and breathe out slowly. Notice how your shoulders relax, how your jaw loosens, how your eyelids feel heavier, like the tide, slowly drifting in and slowly drifting out. Tonight's tale is one that hums like a lullaby woven from sea air, starlight, and the whispers of an ancient bell. Our story begins on the edge of a quiet village by the sea, a village of lantern-lit cottages, of stone paths softened by moss, of fishermen who rose before the sun, and children who chased seabirds with laughter in their throats. At the very edge of this village, where the land kissed the restless waves, stood a tower, old as memory, made of weathered gray stone. Its walls were streaked with salt from centuries of storms, and at its crown hung a great bronze bell. The villagers called it the Bell of Whispering Shore. During the day, it seemed only a relic, silent, patient, its metal dulled by the sea breeze. But at night, when the stars stretched across the sky like silver threads, the bell would sometimes stir. It would sway gently, even when the air was still, and sing a note deep and soft, like the heartbeat of the world itself. Most villagers found comfort in this. They would fall asleep to its hum, their dreams stitched together by its gentle voice. But to one young girl, named Elara, the bell was more than comfort. It was calling. Elara was quiet, with hair as dark as a raven's wing, and eyes that seemed always to be searching, not for shells, not for stones, but for meaning. She believed the world whispered secrets to those who knew how to listen, and she listened better than anyone. By day she would wander the tide pools, watching tiny crabs scuttle beneath rocks, listening to the fizz of seawater pulling back through the sand. She pressed seashells to her ear, not just to hear the ocean's echo, but to imagine what the ocean might be saying. But at night, it was the bell she waited for. On one such night, when the air was crisp and the moon round as a silver coin, Elara lay awake in her bed. All was still. The only sound was the sigh of waves and the occasional call of a night bird. And then it came, a low, resonant chime. Not loud, not sharp, but soft, like the earth itself had spoken. Elara sat up. Her heart thrummed in rhythm with the sound. Quietly she slipped from her bed, her bare feet pressing into the cool wooden floor. She wrapped a shawl around her shoulders and stepped out into the night. The village was hushed, lanterns dim, chimneys exhaling their last sleepy wisps of smoke. Only the stars above seemed awake, watching, glimmering. The bell sang again. Elara followed its voice, her steps carrying her past the edge of the village to the sand, where the tide glistened like liquid glass. The tower loomed ahead. Its stones rose like ancient bones from the earth, its silhouette softened by the glow of moonlight. And there, swaying gently in the salt-sweet breeze, hung the bell. Her breath caught. It was not the wind that moved it. The bell sang again. Elara followed its voice, her steps carrying her past the edge of the village to the sand, where the tide glistened like liquid glass. The tower loomed ahead. Its stones rose like ancient bones from the earth, its silhouette softened by the glow of moonlight. And there, swaying gently in the salt-sweet breeze, hung the bell. Her breath caught. It was not the wind that moved it. She could feel this. No storm pushed it, no hand pulled it. It moved because it wished to, and when it did, its song wrapped around her like a lullaby sung by the sea. She stepped closer. The wooden door at the tower's base groaned as she pushed it. The sound echoed through the spiral stair inside, a sound like bones creaking. Her fingers grazed the stone as she climbed. Cold, rough, each step winding higher, closer to the sound. And then she reached the top. The bell hung before her, massive and silent. Yet its presence thrummed, as though it held within it the memory of every chime it had ever sung. Elara touched the rope, and the moment her fingers brushed its fibers she felt something. Not sound, not words, but stories. A sailor's last wish before the storm took him. A mother's prayer for her child to heal. A boy's dream of seeing lands beyond the horizon. All of it, woven into the hum of the bell. Elara closed her eyes, and in the hush of that tower, she listened. The bell told her a secret. It was not meant to warn of raiders or fire. It was not meant to call the village to arms. No, it was meant to carry dreams. Each night, as the villagers slept, their hopes, their griefs, their joys and longings rose into the air, were gathered by the bell, and sent out across the sea. The waves bore them, the stars received them, and in time, those dreams would return, changed, softened, like driftwood polished by tide. Elara's breath trembled. She pressed her hand to the rope again, and whispered, "I'll keep listening," and the bell hummed back. A sound so deep, so soft, it felt like the night itself was answering. Hello again, listener. Before we return to the story, take another slow, deep breath in, hold it softly, and let it out, as if the world itself has exhaled with you. Notice how still the room feels, how your body feels heavier against the surface beneath you, how each sound in the distance seems far away, like the tide drawing back from the shore. You are safe. You are calm. You are ready to drift deeper into tonight's tale. Elara descended the spiral staircase of the tower slowly, her hand trailing along the cool stone wall. The bell's hum still lingered in her chest, like a warmth that could not be shaken. When she reached the bottom, she stepped back into the night air. The sea stretched before her, a dark expanse flecked with silver light. Above, the constellations turned silently, their sweep timeless, patient. Elara wrapped her shawl closer and walked back toward the village. Each house she passed was quiet, its shutters drawn, its windows glowing faintly with the last embers of candlelight. And yet, though the people slept, she knew their dreams were awake, carried aloft by the bell's song. That morning, as dawn softened the horizon into rose and gold, Elara sat with the fisherfolk by the pier. The nets were heavy with silver fish, the boats rocking gently in the tide. One of the old sailors, his beard salt white, spoke of how peacefully he had slept. "No storms in my dreams last night," he said softly, "only a calm sea, as if the waters themselves hushed me." Others nodded. A mother smiled faintly, saying her child, who often tossed in restlessness, had slept still as a stone. Another said he dreamt of a meadow he had never seen, but felt he belonged there. Elara listened quietly, and deep inside, she knew the bell had carried their dreams, soothed their worries, and returned them gently changed. That evening, when shadows lengthened and lanterns glowed along the paths, Elara gathered the children by the hearth of her cottage. She lit a small flame, its glow dancing across their wide, curious eyes, and she began to tell them what the bell whispered. Not in the same language the bell had spoken to her. That language was too deep, too ancient, but in stories shaped like lullabies. She told them of a sailor who once placed a wish into the sea, and how the wish returned to him as a silver shell, soft enough to hold in the palm of his hand. She told them of a child who dreamt of a star, and awoke to find a single glowing ember upon her windowsill, which warmed her through the coldest winter night. And as she spoke, the children leaned closer, their breathing slowing, their little eyes growing heavy, until they drifted softly into sleep, heads resting against each other like petals folding at dusk. Elara smiled. She realized then what her role was. The bell carried dreams, but she could give those dreams form, shaping them into gentle tales so they would live on not just in sleep, but in waking hearts. Night after night, she climbed the tower to listen, and day after day, she shared the whispers through stories, fables, and gentle songs. Some stories were of courage, of knights who found strength not through their swords, but through kindness. Some were of healing, of herbs that spoke softly to those who cared to listen. And some were of mystery, where the sea itself was alive, and the stars guided ships not with light, but with compassion. Soon the whole village knew of Elara's gift, and while some shook their heads, thinking her tales were fanciful, most found comfort in them. On stormy nights, when winds howled like wild beasts and waves battered the cliffs, Elara's stories became a hearth of words, a warmth that held the people steady. But there was one night, when the bell's song changed. It was darker, slower, a chime that lingered longer in the air, as if the sea itself had fallen into sorrow. Elara climbed the tower, her heart pounding softly. When she reached the top, she laid her hand against the rope, closed her eyes, and listened. This time, the stories it carried were heavy with grief. A fisherman lost to the sea, a child's worry for her father's return, an old woman's ache for days gone by. Elara felt tears rise. The bell was not only carrying hope, but sorrow as well. And yet, in the weaving of those sorrows there was still beauty, still connection, still love. She whispered into the night. Even sorrow can be softened, even grief can be carried. I will carry them with you. And the bell swayed once more, its voice deep but tender, like the embrace of the ocean.